Yes, whiskey. I love scotch myself. Okay, testing, testing. Can you guys hear me? Excellent. Okay, great. Excuse me. So let's look at price. That's why you guys came here, right? So I will give people 1 more minute to come through. See if they want to come through here. Who don't know me, I am Cipher. I've been trading crypto for probably 5 years, maybe 4 years, maybe 5 years. I lost count. And I'm, I guess, actively, less actively, I actually mined Bitcoin and was trading on Mt. Gox back in 2011 when Bitcoin was $2. So yeah, been around the block for a bit. So appreciate any context you guys have as well. So what we'll do here, some of the other standard ones, and then on the high time frame, my weekly / daily here, still pretty bearish overall. By bearish, I mean high time frame bearish, right? I do see us taking the highs, like making another all-time high, but I do see us ranging beyond 82. I'm not sure if we can kind of push beyond 82, all things said, because what I'm expecting over the next few days is, considering that we just printed on the lows of these ranges and we have equal lows right here, I would expect a wick fill, basically to take these triple equal lows right now back into discount, which we haven't been in this range discount for a bit. Because if you draw a fib against this, you'll notice that we are bouncing, basically bouncing on the 50% right here. You see this right there, that little dotted line. We haven't revisited this for a little bit of time, and we haven't been in discount for a while. So I would expect price to dip, which is this white line here. I'll clean up some of these white lines here. But basically the white line is the break, the 65K. We need to break 65K. We need to go down to 63.9. I'd want us to see at least 63. I'd like to see at least 63. But I guess the key factor here is we do have this kind of this weird like trend line liquidity here, right? If you were to draw a line here, we have this trend line liquidity. What's interesting with this is that we inverted it, right? We're going back into discount. The only bullish scenario I could see would be if we wick through here to 62, like 63, 62, and then close back above 65, which is the teal, right? If we close back above 65 on the daily, that would mean that we are going to take all-time highs. However, after we take all-time highs, we've actually printed bearish SMRs on this, which would mean that we'd have a triple tap, right? If you do the same thing here, right, we do potential line right there, right? There's another trend line, right? If you do trend lines, I don't typically do trend lines, but it kind of elaborates what I'm effectively going to show you here is we break this liquidity on the high. What you'd look for then is the closure back below 74 really. Closure back below 74, which is highlighted in orange. However, we do have this fib level. I removed my fibs, but 82 is a pretty high fib level. If we do wick back up to 82, I would still not long until we print dailies consistently over 74. So I would actually wait for the retest after 74. Now, what's interesting, though, is if we wick and close back below 74, which is orange, that is much more bearish, right? Because then you would have to sweep internal range back at 53, which means this would be creating the new range to the downside. The only major bullish scenario that I could see would be if we wick up to 82 and then we flip 64 as the new level, right? Which would mean that something like that would happen where we have a retest of 65 to take out liquidity after 82, and then we flip 65 because we need to have 3 taps before continuation. So this would actually be basically the level we're at now would be confirmed as the deviation, right? And then we'd have the first entry, and then we'd have the second entry. So that would be the 3rd tap. And then after this point, if we flip 65, then we'd be heading to the new all-time highs of like 120. And that would be the only bullish scenario I can see. But again, I don't want to trade this until we do one of the 2 things I mentioned. We either sweep the 63, close back above, then go for the highs, or we sweep 74, close back below 74, and then go for the lows, and that would be the short. So until then, I sit, I wait. I do have some other notes. So some other notes here I want to share with you guys. USDT dominance. For those of you who aren't aware, it is the dominance chart is basically the inverse chart, right? If it goes up, then the crypto market is dumping. If it goes down, then the crypto market is pumping. Now, what's interesting here is we did just tap these 2 levels, and we are printing an AMD. So if we close, what's interesting is if we close right now in the next 6 hours, if this daily candle closes right here, then this is going to be extremely bullish for the entire crypto market. We'll see a very, very bullish summer. So that's why the Monday range is incredibly important right now. I do not like to trade Mondays for this reason, because it usually prints a weekly profile. So one thing that I would like to see still is this weekly range printed, and then we take the highs. Then what that would mean for me is that we are now back in this range time frame target, which would mean that we'd see probably large pumps in the crypto market back down to 4.34%. Now zooming out a little bit, this is very interesting because during this, this period of the bear market that we had, this was terrible, right? Everyone hates this bear market we were in back in, a couple years, right? And then we were chopping around for quite a while, and then only recently we started pumping, right? These dumps in USDTD indicated, right, that we had pumps, very strong pumps in the crypto market. Now we are at this huge weekly trendline liquidity profile right here, right? And if we can invert this at the 5.2 and not take 5, if we start closing dailies back below 4.3, then what I would like to see is we do something like this. We make a range below here on the weekly, and then we close below 4%. Now, if we close below 4%, there's actually a gap on the weekly at 3.7. And on the weekly, if we are unable to close back above 4%, the next draw is the OB all the way down at 0.06% on the weekly. which would basically mean that we have probably the biggest bull run we've ever seen in crypto, ever in history, right around the corner. In terms of the weekly profile over the next few years, right? Over the next few years is kind of what I'm expecting. So over the next few years, I would expect the crypto market to, if we break this trend line, to basically pump more than anyone has ever expected. Because we'd be basically bringing USDT dominance back down. We'd be breaking this weekly trend line profile here, which would basically invalidate any pumps that we had previously. So something like that is what I could see, right? Maybe not zero, but like something like that is what I could see if we break that line. Cool. So hopefully that's helpful. Is there any questions before I go into excuse me, I'm eating my lunch right now. So any questions before we go into any coins? Yeah. Yeah. Right now, honestly, I'll tell people right now, like this is chop. This is nothing. We don't want to trade this garbage. This PA the past few days has been garbage. Like it's just like whatever. It does not doing anything. We want to trade the big moves. And like I don't really care much about the ranges too much. I care about the big moves. So what I want to see is like once we get this confirmation back in range, I'm going to start. I do have long limits open actually. So if we wick, and I'm already in longs from this level. So I actually have a couple longs already in profits right now. But I'm waiting for. I actually have some limits basically on a couple different coins. Slightly below current level with the expectation we wick into 4.9 and then close back below. One of them I just did is Tycho. I'll pull this up real quick. This was my setup. As you can see here, I got my first fill right there on the daily. I have three more orders down here with the expectation if we wick down below, right? If this range is confirmed, we're able to break it. Oops, this line is invalid now. Then we would see something like this, right? If we don't break it, however, if we are unable to confirm lower lows on this SMR, then these next few limits will fill. So I expect something like that to still happen for this one. So yeah, I'm already in longs. This one's already in a profit, but I will keep waiting for the most part. I have a bunch of others, but yeah, I want to get to your guys' questions. The first one, oh yeah, Sherlock's long average entry 66 SL 65. Yes, again, I think as I mentioned to you guys, I do not want to trade this because I think this is not the bottom. This is, in my mind, this is not the bottom. This is I would short. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't necessarily always agree with Sherlock, but I would short here because we have triple equal lows. If we basically, for Bitcoin's more bearish than altcoins right now, in my opinion. We close below. We have not. Yeah, if we keep this, we'd have to take these lows first, even if we close. So it leads me to believe that like we don't have a clear deviation yet on this range. So if I was to enter longs on Bitcoin, my entry would be 63, 63.8, 63.8, maybe 63, maybe 62.3. Another good entry right down here. So because then I would expect my SL to be around 59.4, because once we get to that level, this is actually going to be, could actually go, honestly, this wick could actually go that low because you see all this smooth liquidity down here. I would expect the next impulse to happen. But then I would expect us to sweep down. Just make sure you risk manage, make sure you SL break even. With them right now because it's a fragile state. They're in a fragile state, right? To put it simply. Right. And okay, Burrett you were late. Yes, for BTC. Okay. I will go back to my Bitcoin analysis that I did earlier. So same thing here. If we hold, honestly, if we hold this range, great. Um, the I don't necessarily like how we are. I don't really like it. To me, it's bearish still because really, if we take the highs first, we're going to go back down to the 64 level either way. So either we take the highs first. So what I'm expecting are like two things here, or really maybe like three probabilities really. If we close right where we are now, even right where we are now, I would expect this to happen, right? So Monday's the weekly profile range. So what I'd want to see is here is purple, right? Oh, which I meant by party is the session, not BTC. Whatever. Yes. Well, I'll redo BTC. So we take the AMD on the weekly profile range for Bitcoin, which means we close here hypothetically. This candle closes in 6 hours and 18 minutes. We take the high first. We go up to 67, but we close right back below 67. The moment we close back below 67 is honestly the moment to look for shorts, because I am still expecting us to sweep the IRL down here at 63 and take longs down here before we take the all-time high. Yeah. So sometimes we won't we might not get this, but I like this setup for a long is just not good enough for me to take. Because like, yeah, if we took the highs first, that would actually, in my mind, that would actually be more bearish. I'd rather see Bitcoin do well over long periods of time. But like if we had the liquidity sweep first, then what I'll end up having the AMD to the high time frame range, and that would actually be the high, whatever this pumps to, whether it goes to 82 or whatever. That would be the high for like the year, and that's kind of what I'm looking at, and mainly because of USDTD. I want to see this pump through and then dump. If we do take the highs first on Bitcoin, then I would be slightly more bearish because we'd be continuing ranging. I really, really, really am looking for, like, I'm like, if you're long, sure, you can take longs. Be careful though, because again, I would expect us to go a little bit lower, down to 63, before we take the highs. And then as soon as we take the highs, what I would actually expect is a rejection either at the 64 level or at the 82 level, at which point we go back into range. And that's purely because I don't expect Bitcoin to make like a new strong all-time high until after we take the 55K level, because Bitcoin dominance has also made a high time frame AMD to the downside. So again, we sweep high. This is my Bitcoin dominance chart. We have an SMR. We respected all the internal gaps so far. If we are unable to close, here's the other magic number right here. This is, I'll make this red. Here's the new red line. So if we take 56%, which looks like we're taking 56%, which is fine. But as soon as we close back below 55.3, then the weekly SMR is confirmed on Bitcoin. And really, at that point, I would basically be taking profits, all my profits out of Bitcoin, and specifically only into altcoins, because altcoins are bottoming out. And over the next weeks, I could see Bitcoin dominance chart falling to its high time frame reversal levels, right? Um, yes. So that is kind of where what I'm looking for right now. I'm very bullish on alts, very bearish on Bitcoin, high time frame. And yeah, it's kind of just so like an example being Atom, or actually ADA is a really, really good example. I have a plan on ADA on the weekly where once we break back below 2.3, which is like the If we do keep this internal range, then that means we'd be supporting have our 3 taps. We'd have our opening range, right? So on the read of the 2-4, this would be a weekly retest on ADA, which would mean that we'd actually be going for these very clean relative equals up here at 81 and all the way up at $1. So and even at $2.38. So what I'm actually doing is I'm going to be buying ADA is one of them. There's a few other altcoins that actually have staking. Dot does as well, but I actually have a plan for Atom. Atom is really nice too. Same thing here. I guess that I don't know why my chart's messed up here. Oh, I'm using the perpetual chart. Maybe I just need to switch over to this one. Yes. Same thing with Atom. I have some limits down at like the $2 to $1 range, because as soon as we sweep those lows, we'd have the same structure supported here and with ADA. I like ADA a little bit more because it's cleaner, so I'll just go to that one real quick. But basically, yeah. What I want to do with this though is buy spot, and then basically buy spot down at the 24 cents, 23 cents level, and then stake it for the next few years, because that'll be not only will I have long exposure on this confirmed range back up from 24 cents to roughly $2.50, $2.40 on the weekly. But I will also be getting APY, right, from staking that entire time. So it'll be huge compounding gains, really, really good. So I think really right now, money is going to be coming out of Bitcoin soon and into altcoins, and we'll see that in the charts over the next like weeks, months, years. Just keep that on your radar. I mean, there's so many out there, right? But some of them are better than others. So hopefully that helps. Oh, and Colin Sergio, tell us where you're from. Very interesting. I'm from the USA. I'm an American. I trade a MEXC, but I'm still KYC because I can do that. But yes, hopefully that answers your question. I guess I don't know how much detail you want me to go into. Is there any other coins you guys want before I head out? I have about a couple minutes left. Oh, costs. Thanks. Yeah. Forgot about costs. Cool. Costs. I haven't looked at it in a bit. Um, yeah. Not as bullish as you guys would probably want to hear. Um, 6 months. Yeah, 6-month SMR. Let's do 12, same thing. Weekly, what we got? We're back in range. Back in range. So with costs, I'll be honest, I am not high time frame bullish on it. Purely because we are now back in range. I would expect us to maybe take the high, the weekly high, maybe 181 cents. But this is very incredibly clear equal lows right there on the weekly at 10 cents. Too many people have put stops there for price not to go there. So let's go back down to the daily. Yeah, looks like we're gonna sweep lows first, right? We sweep lows first, so I'll do a little bit of a trace here. We sweep lows first, take the highs, right? If we stay in range, then the next sweep would go back down to 12 cents roughly. Now, after that, the next bounce would be the inversion of 14. So roughly something like this. And then from 14, if we're unable to reclaim 14, if we are able to reclaim 14, then we could probably go higher. But I'll say if we stay in range, assuming we stay in range, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to build a trendline liquidity here, right? Which would mean that we would then be taking the lows first down at 9 cents before we start seeing more bullish momentum. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for costs. Yeah, basically, because then this would support this structure, the same thing, the same structure I'm talking to you guys about from before, right? We have a range entry, we have a deviation, we have the first tap, and then what looks to be a confirmation but isn't actually a confirmation, and then we have like this because it just created equal lows, and then we have this. Right now, I am not long on it. 10 cents, because that would be a higher R. Yeah, high time frame, less bullish on costs. More bullish on coins that you probably guys aren't following. KDA, very, very hidden one, right? This one is just inverted as well. And there's some levels down at 47 I'm watching. I have these levels at 47, same thing. I would expect consolidation here to then take the $1. So something like that is what I'm looking for on KDA. And then there's a couple others. Let's see what I think of. Oh, geez. Beam. Oh, yeah. I'm in a Beam. I'm in Beam right now. Spot. Beam has such a clean structure right here on the 16 cents. This is a spot play and then equal highs at the 50 cents. Basically, we're at the all-time low. We were at the all-time low. We are, if we do not break this range, this green box here, you can see I drew this line back in April and it's still following it, right? We can come back to it later, right? But I've been buying Beam up basically in large batches here. And with the expectation of if we cannot break below this box, then the monthly will be respected. And then what will end up happening is we will see AMD to the upside because there's actually gaps on the upside, inefficiencies for price to fill still. So this one I'm targeting $1 to $2, and I'm buying it at 2 cents right now. So hopefully that helps as well. I'll do Matic real quick. Remember, guys, the goal is to buy low, sell high, right? I kid. So let's do Matic. I'll use the spot chart because it's a little cleaner. So Matic, very clean too. On the monthly, we do have an AMD on this range, but what's interesting though is if we close exactly where we are right now in the monthly, this monthly will flip and we're going to go down much lower. Now, here's something absolutely crazy. There is a gap down there, but let's look at the weekly. Let's look at the weekly. Let's see if there's anything else here interesting. Yeah, there's gaps open all the way down there. But yeah, this is going to be interesting because Matic has a similar structure where we have these equal lows here on the weekly. I would expect to see a similar deviation form. Yeah, I wouldn't touch it until we basically do two things. I want to see a break below 50 cents and then a closure back above 50 cents on the weekly. Very simple. I'm not going to keep this too complicated. If that invalidates, that'll be where I look to long.